calling to order our special and joint regular meeting of the City Council, the successor agency, and the Housing Authority. Roll call, please.
Mayor. Council Agency Authority Member Barrios. Present. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Warren. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Torres. Here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
Mr. Mayor, we have none.
And that would be on a closed item. And we have received an email?
We have no written communication as well.
Okay, we do have a closed session referencing conference for legal counsel for anticipated litigation. Cases 1.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to adjourn to the closed session, and we'll be back.
City Council proceeded in the closed session at 5:33 p.m. and will reconvene at 6:30 p.m. for regular session.
This time I'm going to call to order our Stanton City Council Successor Agency Housing Authority regular meeting at 6:30. A roll call.
Council Agency Authority Member Barrios. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Taylor. Here. Council Agency Authority Member Warren. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chairman Torres. Here. And Mayor Chairman Shaver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our report, our closed session, please.
Thank you, Mayor. There's nothing to report.
Thank you. Okay, Jenny, would you lead us in the flag salute, please? One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're under awards and presentations. We are going to give a certificate, proclamation, and recognition to Ms. Jenny Lacayo and her invaluable contributions and service to the Stanton community for, I believe it's over 30 years, if I remember. So at this time, I am going to have Mayor Pro Tem Torres read the document, and I want you to read it in full.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So hang on.
City of Stanton, Jenny Lacayo. Whereas, as a resident of Stanton for 20 years, Jenny Lacayo has held membership as a Stanton Community Services Commissioner, volunteer in policing member with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and well-respected volunteer for the City of Stanton. And whereas Jenny Lacayo has brought credit and distinction to herself through her career and her civic engagements, which have significantly improved the quality of life for residents within the city. And whereas since being appointed to serve on the Stanton Community Services Commission in 2009, Jenny Lacayo has earned a reputation as an individual deeply committed to a variety of programs based on meeting the changing needs of the community, while focusing on promoting better communication among city government, Stanton businesses, and local residents. And whereas throughout her years of service to the City of Stanton, Jenny Lacayo has worked diligently to improve the quality of life for future generations and is a strong believer in public service, city programming, and involving the citizenry in city functions and activities. And whereas a leader in every sense of the word, a forward thinker, and a worker for better understanding among people, Jenny Lacayo believes that informed citizenry contributes more to the betterment of the city. And whereas Jenny Lacayo has won the praise and admiration of people throughout the community, and in her free time she relishes spending time with her family, is a mother to 4 sons, a grandmother to 14 grandchildren, and enjoys gardening, caring for her plants, and exercising when she can. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Donald Torres, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Stanton, and Dave J. Shaver, Mayor of the City of Stanton, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby commend Ms. Jenny Lacayo for her exemplary dedication and commitment to the Stanton community. Ms. Jenny Lacayo has consistently proven to be a valuable member of our community and is worthy of accolades and recognition. Ms. Jenny Lacayo's active participation in supporting the community of Stanton and its continued growth, progress, and success in providing excellent public services which attain a high quality of life for all its citizens, demonstrates her positive impact in wanting to make a difference. Ms. Jenny Lacayo's strong efforts and outstanding leadership is an inspiration to others. It is fitting that we join in the celebration of accomplishment and recognition of Ms. Jenny Lacayo, extending to her our sincerest appreciation for her invaluable contributions to the city and its residents, and wishing upon her continued success and joy for her future endeavors.
Thank you. She's going to adjust the mic for you, Jenny. There you go.
That's all right.
Go ahead and test that for me.
Well, I really thank you very much for the recognition for today. All the years that I felt a part of this community of Stanton, I enjoyed all of the volunteering and all the commissions. I enjoyed Councilman Barrios, Councilman Warren. I didn't have too much contact with Mayor Shaver, but I know he was always at the present and all the activities. So I really, really appreciate it. I am very grateful, and I will continue. It looks like I'm going to be here longer than I anticipated. Real estate is very slow, and especially in the mobile home parks with the outrageously space rents. So I will be around for a little while yet. So thank you very much, and God bless the United States, and God bless the city of Stanton.
Jenny, I think you've been around just a little bit longer than I have, but I do want you to know that this list is just the tip of the iceberg, because on each one of these categories, there's 100 things that you've been able to do to make the city of Stanton a better place to live. We also know that the countless hours that you have done in volunteer work unselfishly has made an improvement in just about every board that you have served on over the years, and the contributions that you have made will long be remembered. With the fact that you might be stuck here a little bit longer, it's okay, because you now have a lifetime pass to come and go. So anytime you want to come here, you're welcome. This is your home. And anytime you need to take a leave of absence, that's also your choice. But we want you to consider Stanton to always be a place that is yours, because you helped make it what it is today. So we want to thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It's almost as big as I am. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent calendar. All items can be taken in a single motion. We have 9A to 9J. Is a motion that we go with the approval of the recommended action? Okay, hold on. Was there anybody from the audience who would like to address our consent calendar or have received any written correspondence?
Mr. Mayor, hearing none, seeing none, and we have received no written correspondence.
First and second, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? That passes unanimously. All right, moving on to item 10. We have no public hearings, no unfinished business. We're now at 12A. This is the review of existing municipal code regulations related to fencing, walls, hedges, and commercial zones.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. At the January 28th, 2025 City Council meeting, staff was directed to provide the City Council with a review of existing fence regulations applied to commercial properties. The Council expressed specific concern with ensuring that commercial property owners were able to secure vulnerable properties. Staff has prepared this summary of existing regulations for Council's review, as well as potential alternatives and subsequent impacts. As a starting point, it's important to understand not only why development standards exist in the zoning code, but also what their intended purposes are. Development standards are a necessary part of zoning codes because they provide consistency and uniformity while also establishing order, safety, and aesthetically pleasing communities. There are several objectives behind the establishment of development standards, all of which are meant to enhance the physical environment of a community through safe and purposeful growth. Establishing development regulations always requires a balance between considering the needs of individual property owners with the larger impacts that they may cause in the community. Stanton has 2 commercial zoning districts in the city. Commercial General, CG, is the most common commercial zone on Beach Boulevard. The current development standards establish that fences within the front setback can have a maximum height of 42 inches. The front setback in the CG zone is 5 feet, so any fence placed outside of the front setback, or at least 5 feet back, is allowed a maximum height of 6 feet. This development standard is common for major commercial corridors like Beach Boulevard because it encourages an open and welcoming streetscape environment along a route that carries such a high volume of regional traffic. This review of current fencing regulations is considered good practice because periodic review of existing codes helps to determine if they are effective or still reflect the community's goals. Additionally, various concerns can arise in communities that cause a need for such reviews. Security, specifically the needs of property owners to secure vulnerable vacant properties from vandalism and potential theft, were the concerns that prompted this review. As such, this review is seeking a balance between securing personal property and achieving community goals to promote vibrant commercial centers. This slide provides visual examples of the intent behind existing fence regulations. A landscape buffer is placed in front of fencing to soften the appearance of the fencing to promote a vibrant and attractive environment. This standard allows for a 6-foot-tall fence that can secure any property within a commercial corridor, but softens the appearance with a landscape buffer. This slide provides examples of fencing that is placed directly adjacent to a sidewalk without a landscape buffer. While this also provides security, it is not a common development standard along major commercial corridors because it tends to send a message that an area is unsafe or uninviting and discourages potential visitors and investors. To further seek balance between the need for securing vulnerable properties with the community goal of open, vibrant commercial centers, the Council may consider introducing a temporary security fence application process. This would allow property owners to address short-term security concerns without sacrificing long-term community vitality. This program can establish that only commercial properties in sensitive areas, such as next to storm channels or railroads, who have experienced 2 or more incidents of vandalism, are eligible for temporary fencing. The program will allow fencing within the front setback to be 6 feet tall and made of wrought iron or similar fencing. If solid fencing is proposed, the portion above 42 inches must provide visibility into the property, and all fencing must maintain sight visibility for vehicles. An application process will be developed requiring property owner acceptance of the temporary time period and any applied conditions. The regulations will also require a building permit prior to installation of the fencing. The temporary fencing can be allowed for up to 1 year while the property owner attempts to occupy or redevelop the property. One 6-month extension period can be granted for a property who shows earnest effort to occupy their vacant property through letters of intent, building permits for tenant improvements, or similar documentation. The temporary program would also need to incorporate penalties for noncompliance. Failure or refusal to remove a temporary fence at the end of the approved time period would be considered noncompliance. The penalties would be set on a weekly escalating scale, beginning with a notice of violation, followed by a $200 citation, a $500 citation, and then a $1,000 weekly citation thereafter, plus designation as a public nuisance. This concludes review of the existing fencing regulations and a potential method to address short-term security concerns for vulnerable properties. Staff is now seeking direction from council to either maintain existing commercial fencing regulations or amend the code to incorporate a temporary security fence review and application process. The second option will require a planning commission public hearing before returning for council consideration. And this concludes staff's report. Staff is available for any questions.
Crystal, can you go back to the pictures with the setback, please? Okay. So if you guys look at picture 5, which is on the right bottom half, with public safety and an issue right now in our community, I think one of the things why I brought this up is because I want to promote, the health and public safety and have the businesses protected from break-ins. And if you look at picture 5, there's a 5-foot setback where somebody, say, wants to rest there, something, drop off, what's the word I'm looking for, their belongings and leave it. And if you go back to go to the next picture, and I kind of look at it as like my own personal yard. Picture 3 is a horrible picture, but if we look at picture, the middle at the bottom, second right there with the white sign, right there. That's something I visualize. It allows the commercial business to maximize their property and to protect it. And again, I go back to a public safety issue that we're having in our community right now. And council, that's one of the reasons I brought this up, and I just want to hear and you guys share your thoughts on it.
We were talking about temporary.
Yeah, it is temporary. It would be temporary, but if you look, I was just trying to give you guys the compare and contrast of it. So temporary would allow them to do a temporary. If you look at it on, right now, one of the requirements is 2 or more incidents of documented vandalism. I would like to get rid of that because I think some businesses want to be proactive at it.
Right.
So should we?
But that wasn't the only one, was it?
No, that was just, there's a whole list.
Yeah, as long as you qualify for one on the list, then you can put your fence up.
Is that true, Crystal?
The way it was presented is that it would be one of the commercial categories and
Okay.
it would have to have some type of vandalism incident. But again, we're seeking council direction. So if that's something that the council wanted to remove from their eligibility, we can do
Or,
that.
Yeah, I could live with or.
That would be one of the changes I would suggest. Instead of and, we could put or.
The time limit, right? A year, and then you could get 6 more months or 6 weeks or something?
Good.
That's correct. So whenever a property owner applies, they would be granted up to 1 year, if that's what they're asking for. And when it is getting closer to the end of that 1 year, if they can show us that they are in the midst of working with a potential tenant, they're submitting plans, there's something that's happening, we can give them an additional 6 months where they can keep that temporary security fence while their potential tenant is prepping the site and getting ready to occupy.
Is any of this related to Park Avenue?
We received direction to review the fencing regulations, and so that's what we're presenting right now. We do have some locations in the city, more than one, where there has been fencing installed without building permits that don't currently comply with our zoning regulations.
Would there be some instances where a business would need that all the time? Not just 6 months or a year, but on a permanent basis? Do we have any indication that there are businesses that would need that?
There are some businesses that may state that they need them. Again, staff is recommending a temporary security fencing, again, just because, especially on Beach Boulevard, because most of the newer development does have that open. In the buffer example, one of those photos was actually Cloud House. They did have landscaping in front of their fencing. So we do want to try to promote open commercial areas as much as possible, which is why we're thinking a temporary would be a good compromise to help out any commercial property that's currently having a vacancy and issues with trying to secure it in that temporary manner.
And the fence at Park Avenue, how long has it been there now?
It may have been a few months.
I think it's over a year.
Oh, it hasn't been? Yeah. The code case was opened up before it became,
Oh, okay.
And- yeah.
It's been there a long time, and the empty building has been there a long time. Is it okay for businesses just to leave an empty building for a long period of time like that?
well, we don't have any control over vacancy. The only thing that we do have regulations for is that property owners are responsible for maintaining their properties. So they do have to secure the property. Usually we do, again, require that they secure it within the existing regulations that are in place. Sometimes property owners feel that our regulations do not allow them as much ability to secure it as they would like. So again, that's always an issue of balance, where one property owner may want to put in extra methods of security, whereas others may think that that is something that's more detrimental to the overall community aesthetic. So it's one of those balancing items that we have to look at.
And as a reminder to the council, you did task staff this fiscal year to produce a vacant parcel ordinance, which would then give staff some of the tools to be able to monitor and prod property owners to maintain their properties or to pay a penalty for leaving them vacant beyond a certain time period.
And an empty building like that would be not
Count as
maintaining
well.
the property, right?
It would either be a vacant parcel or a vacant building.
Okay. That's very reasonable, I think.
The temporary
You agree with
security
that?
fencing, is that the same as the black fences in those photos?
Yeah, we would anticipate that it is going to be, in all likelihood, a wrought iron fence or tubular fencing, which has that same look, which is why those samples were more tubular or wrought iron.
And council member, you're looking to basically have that, and the requirements is or, not and? That's the
Or,
change you're looking to make?
When it talks about under potential temporary security fencing regulations, get rid of the and. So instead of having, before it was eligibility would be one, and then one of the others. So we're going to switch it to or, because I don't think we should, if you own a business, do you have to wait for 2 actions of vandalism? Or can you be proactive to protect your property?
I think that my biggest worry is that if we are lax on these requirements, we're going to be having a very different look to our city. I've seen a lot of cities outside of Orange County that employ a lot of these types of fencing. And I could say that with the setback, it looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing. You know, if we're looking to get rid of the concrete, jungle that we live in, then I think that having setbacks would be the most, efficient towards making sure that we have a little bit more green in our communities. If we have issues with security with certain property owners, I wonder what we can do on staff end. But my biggest worry is that we're gonna turn our city looking into a lot more concrete instead of green.
And what if we were to require them to put some type of ivy to wrap around the iron? That way it's greenery, it creates, some have flowers. Because I understand what you say, and I was thinking about that on the way here also. You know what, if, put some required greenery. First thing that came to my mind was ivy, because it'll grow around it, it'll wrap around, and you can keep it well maintained.
So I guess apart from having the setback in order to have things like that, I get your intention, full-heartedly of what you're trying to do, but I'm still worried about the aesthetic impact that we'll get.
And I know one of the things I was worried about too is, concrete, some people might say block, gray, I would exclude gray block because that's the most cheapest way. And they were gonna do block, I would say split face. I would say they would have to stucco it, or they would even have to use, it's brown sand block. That way we're not just getting gray and, you give them options.
So are we looking to change anything besides the or? You want to change some of the other things on here?
I just think the or and get rid of and remove the, where they have to be vandalized twice. I would really delete that because if they get vandalized once, right, why should they have to wait a second?
No, I'm just, the
Oh.
or would take care of
Okay,
that.
that would take care of it.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Another thing is if you change it to or, you'll open up, which is fine if the council desires to do so, you'll open up the number of properties that would meet the eligibility requirements, because right now, they, as proposed, are restricted to certain geographical locations within the city. They have to either be adjacent to a storm channel, a railroad track, or on Beach Boulevard or Catella Avenue. So if you change it to or, now businesses or commercial properties that are not in one of those locations but have experienced 2 acts of vandalism and want to do some type of upgrade or renovation would have the ability to do this temporary fencing. So if the intent is to your point, hey, you could be proactive if you're in these locations, or if you're not in these locations and if you've experienced vandalism and you're doing a renovation project or a construction project of some type, you can still access this temporary fencing option. So just wanted to make sure that that additional impact of changing to or was understood.
So they have to come up with something better after a year and a half, I guess.
And I would say the penalty, the only thing I would change on the penalty is only if they don't open. And put, that's a year, and then plus the extension, if they don't open.
So if they did a renovation and we're now in year 3 and they're not open, that's okay, it's still,
The penalty, it would be only if they don't open. They would have to open within that time frame.
within the 18 months. But they have to remove the fence. So right now, the way this is proposed, once they're completed, once they're done with the construction, they have to remove the temporary fence, and either they can have no fence once they're open for business and people are activating the space, or if they want to install a permanent fence, then it has to meet the current existing requirements with a setback. So the penalties would only be imposed if they did not take down the temporary fence once they were open.
So I guess with or without a setback, a wall's a wall. So apart from the couple feet that will be moving out towards the, perimeter of the property, I don't really see an added, let's say, security feature. Unless if you can,
Well, if you do a temporary, right, and you get to maximize and secure your property, right? And if you're renovating or doing a project, you've got electrical outlets there, you've got all kinds of material that you want to keep safe. So I think that limits where someone could hang out and just say, oh, I'm just hanging out here waiting for everybody to leave, and then jump in the wall. So you get to you maximize your security on your property.
What's the width of setbacks?
5 feet. So if I'm a criminal, I can just hang out in the 5 feet and I'm just hanging out here.
So you're not doing anything yet until you go in the property, right?
Right.
Right.
So
HD, I would like to have our community development director have the ability to manage this and make the decisions. Can whatever we come up with today be an administrative controlled by our city community development director?
Mayor and council, the provisions of the Stanton Municipal Code already provide, standards for fences and walls and whatnot. So either way, we would need to have an ordinance to implement this, but the new ordinance could give greater leeway to the community development director to administer the program.
Yeah, the reason I want to do this is because I think we're all missing the boat here. We're talking about landscaping, we're talking about temporary, we're talking about the locations, but the problem is that we're putting this up because people want to protect their property at this period of time. And so I'm not real sure whether we should limit somebody in this community from having the ability to protect their property. Talking about landscaping, which I agree with you, most of these properties, if you were to put the fencing along the sidewalk, they have plants and shrubs on the other side already aesthetically. So it's not like you just have the sidewalk, the fence, and you have the open area. As far as my other thought in it is who are we to determine when it's safe to take it down? Okay, so the person has this fencing up. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's in the right place. A lot of people have parking lots that will they have signage that was aforementioned. But what happens if the person opens a business and they end up getting another $300,000 worth of damage to the property because they take their fencing down? I just think that the determination on the fencing should be between the City of Stanton's Community Development Director and the property owner. Also, the determination as a need, who knows better than what that need is than the person that owns the property? I fully understand the idea that, if they don't open the business, that business doesn't reopen, there should be some kind of penalty. But what about existing businesses that have to have this to survive? We have a couple of businesses because of the some of the issues that have been pertaining to non-security have had to close and haven't reopened. We have others that are open that need fencing. As an example, I just got a call recently from the owner of the area that belonged to Ball Hardware. They're having exhibit problems with the graffiti and the people coming off the railroad tracks. And he would like to put fencing up, but it's restricted because of our codes that we have here. I would just like a business owner to have the ability to come in and meet with our community development director and work out a program that will secure their property. Now, let's take the devil's advocate. Let's say I put up this protective fencing and I open my business and everything's going great. Or I already have a business open and I'm allowed to put up the fencing. And then all of a sudden the city says, okay, take it down. And then it starts all over again. So everything they've invested is going back into a loss column.
The fencing by itself isn't the answer. I mean, the fencing's a temporary answer, but people go over fences, around fences. it's not really the answer. You're going to have to put some kind of security
Okay, well,
cameras or
and I
something.
agree with you,
Or
Gary.
hire private security, which I
agree
know is
with you. Why
expensive.
not put permanent fencing, allow permanent fencing on situations like this along the property line and let them leave it up
So
if they
But
meet
it
the
makes us look
criteria
like
of
a
public
prison.
safety.
It does
It
make
makes
us
the
look
city look like a prison up and down Beach Boulevard.
So you mentioned
Is it
that.
better to have every business empty?
Every business isn't empty, though.
Okay, so you mentioned the inside greenery. Nothing would, you mentioned the inside greenery, right? The inside greenery in the fencing, you mentioned that that could be a possibility. But my issue with that is that there's nothing that would guarantee that greenery from happening. Because there would be no requirements to have that greenery behind the fence. But with the setback, they would have to be required to put something like shrubbery in front of it too. I think 1 year should be enough when it comes to having security fencing. I mean, if we can't get this under control within 1 year, then I think that there's bigger issues here at stake. And then also, business owners can get fencing, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like we don't do this already. They can do that under our existing law. So, I mean, apart from making our city aesthetically more, or I guess less walkable, I don't really see what this is trying to solve if we're talking about 5 feet, because if people really want to get into your property, unfortunately they can with the extra 5 feet or not. We're talking about the same wall that would separate the public and the private property.
Yeah, and you're right, but the thing is, most of these businesses already have greenery on the property. And the reason it's on the outside of the fencing is because of the 5-foot setback. And with the setback, then that area along the front with the bushes, that's where everybody sits, camps, and hangs out, especially along the drainage canal, the railroad tracks, et cetera. So by giving them the ability to come to the sidewalk and leave the greenery behind, it gives them that ability. Now, what happens, or what are you going to tell that guy, well, it's time to take down your fence, right? And then all of a sudden, they start breaking in and messing everything up again. In other words, I think our community development director, our public safety people can work it out to find out whether there's a true need or not and determine the length of time that it's there.
Have we had any businesses come and speak out or get upset or say that we haven't been fulfilling their needs with fencing?
I think the community development director may have more experience than I do with that. I mean, sorry, the public safety director.
I get a call every day from a different one. Example, today I got a person that called me from the one over by the railroad tracks on Catella that said he was denied the ability to put fencing up because he had to have a setback, which would put it behind his shrubbery on Catella.
Yeah, because the alternative would just be pure concrete.
I beg your pardon?
The alternative would just be pure concrete.
I don't think we should put concrete up. I think
No,
we
I'm
should-
saying the alternative to not having a setback is just pure concrete.
No, I think it's important that we just have, like wrought iron decorative fencing. We allow people to put it up, and then allow them, after it's up, make it either permanent or non-permanent.
Are you going to mandate that?
I just want to make sure.
Because then we're going to be losing a bunch of greenery in our city.
No, the greenery's already there on most of the properties, 90% of them. I'm just saying that allow the setback to be on the curb line on properties that need public safety. That's all I'm asking.
No, I just think, you know, we have to protect our businesses.
Make a motion.
Well, I want to hear what it, you know, this
We
is,
have.
well, John too, I want to hear
Okay,
everybody, John.
What do
I'm
you
just
think?
enjoying my water over here.
No, I want to hear what everyone has to
So
say.
I have a clarifying question about this. So let's talk about the properties over at Beach and Chapman that are already closed. They have a chain link fence. They go immediately to the property line. In a case of a vacant property like that, would that property be considered in violation?
If we adopt these new regulations, yes, because chain link fence would no longer be required. So we would contact them, notify the property owner that a new ordinance has been put in place, and they would be required to comply with the temporary security fencing if they wanted to maintain security fencing for a vacant property. And we would work with them to get into compliance. And hopefully the timeline would also help encourage them to create some type of permanent resolution to maintenance of the property.
Yeah, because that's what I was imagining with such an undeveloped property, not a property that anybody's actually currently accessing. That would mean that an undeveloped property would have a 5-foot setback, if I'm correct.
Correct. Right now, they have fencing that, most of the vacant properties have fencing because they're required to secure the property. They're not maintained, there's nobody on site, so they do put up temporary chain link fencing, has typically been the practice so that they can secure the property and reduce potential liability. If they wanted to put up permanent fencing under our current zoning requirement, we would have the requirement that they have a 5-foot setback, and we would require that they landscape that front 5 feet.
Okay, because that's my consideration, that if we have an undeveloped property, a completely vacant parcel, then that's the kind of instance where we do absolutely want nobody to be on property. And even a setback for a parcel that's unmonitored, that can be problematic in my opinion. I don't know if we'd want to consider only in the instance of a undeveloped or underutilized. And an example of the existing properties we have where there's no building on it currently, it's just flat land. I don't know if that instance, maintaining having it the way it is currently would be applicable, because they're not trying to beautify the property. It's purely security in that sense.
In a way, it could be a precursor to your vacant parcel ordinance, and it could be putting property owners on notice that the council is no longer going to allow vacant parcels just to sit idly by, because it is a strain on staff resources, on our sheriff's department as well as our public safety services department, because we are constantly called out to them, whether it's a code enforcement case or some type of private property trespassing. So it could be a precursor to that. And if a property owner determines that it's worth the fines, they can maintain it. You saw the fine schedule. A similar fine schedule is going to be applied when we bring the vacant parcel ordinance. So it's really no different from that, in that the city council has a certain vision for its main economic corridors, and it's going to now start taking action to ensure that those properties, if they're not developed, are at least maintained to a minimum standard.
Okay. Thank you. And that was my consideration for properties where there's literally nothing on there, or really for any future development. Like there's current projects in the city where they have the standing fences that are around the property, but that's not actually put into the ground, but they're often on the perimeter.
And those already are allowed under construction fencing, I believe.
Okay.
If there's active construction going on, that's what this template was based off of.
All right. Thank you.
We're spending a lot of time talking about construction, vacant land. What about the people that have a business that exists now? Those are the people that are really having the problems. And since we aforementioned Park Avenue, let's take a look at Park Avenue. Park Avenue's been closed for over a year. That's because they've had $367,000 worth of damage. David Slade doesn't want to come back because right now, if he rebuilds it, it'll just get destroyed again, and he'll lose his investment. It's a business that, once it's up and running, if we take the fence down, who's to say that it's not going to have another $350,000 worth of damage if we don't allow that? There's no guarantees, especially its location across from Stanton Park, across from the drainage canal, and across from a couple of other areas in the city that are frequented by trespassing and also people that violate loitering. To me, I think there's no reason why we can't have the ability for a business to come in and ask for an exemption or for amendment or to the code to where they can put the fencing along the property line, especially if they already have the existing shrubbery and landscaping there. And then if it's working for them, why would we force them to take it down? And the other thing is, too, is if somebody puts it, you said you got a year and a half, well, what if they already have a business going and they put it up? So
we get a year or a year and a half.
Okay, so you have a business that's a year and a half, he has the fencing up because he's having problems, and now you say take it down and good luck.
There are other solutions
So
besides the fence.
if we have this new fence you're talking about, you're saying that Park Avenue wouldn't happen again? Because you're talking about this like a fix. And I don't think that this is a fix. I think that, if anything, this is going to add a horrible aesthetic to our city. And if you're talking about perhaps letting them have it as a permanent fixture, then I would 100% want a setback, because I don't want our city looking like a concrete ocean where we don't see any greenery.
You know, more cities in Orange County are allowing fencing along the sidewalk, including Huntington Beach at Home Depot.
This conversation feels like you're saying that business
Okay, well,
owners
I'm
can't
just
get
saying
fencing
that-
when they have the ability to.
Okay, I'm just telling you that the city's business community daily has requested some type of ability to put fencing up to protect their property.
Mr. Wren, how many requests or how many issues have you had with business owners regarding to fencing?
Over time, it has been an issue, particularly on Beach and Catella. Obviously, it's more specific to locations that are adjacent to Stanton Park or the flood control, those type of locations. But over time, it has been an issue.
So, I mean, I feel like you're more, in this world than I am, but in other cities, when they remove setbacks, do you see a difference, or is this commonly known as something that has an impact or changes the dynamic?
I could only speak to my experience with setbacks in highly impacted areas are problematic in terms of loitering and material, and we do spend time in those type of setbacks regularly. I think it's to a degree a case-by-case basis, but at the same time, in the highly impacted areas, we do deal with issues when there are setbacks.
And we're just in the setback area, right? So basically, if we don't have a setback, all that we're basically eliminating is people hanging out in the setback, right?
That is correct.
Okay, I mean, apart from that being the utility of this, I don't see anything else, I guess, in terms of helping out reducing crime or...
For example, anything anything south of Orangewood down towards that end of town, all have setbacks. Well, all those bushes with the 5-foot setback, that's where everybody encamps. That's where everybody hangs out.
Whose responsibility is the setback?
I'm just telling you, that's where
The
they,
property
that's where
owners.
they,
So the
people hang
property
out.
owner can basically call our sheriff's department and have them removed if there's for
Trespassing.
Correct. And they're responsible for the maintenance of the setbacks. From a functional standpoint, my staff addresses it just based on need on a daily basis.
So then, if we don't have these setbacks, where do you see this problem migrating to?
Away from those highly impacted areas. I mean, obviously, the eliminating setbacks isn't going to cure homelessness, but at the same time, it would, make some of the more highly visible areas less appealing.
Go ahead, Gary.
Crystal, theoretically, if a property owner came to you, they own something on Beach Boulevard and they want to put a fence up, theoretically, could they appeal the ruling that they can't through the Planning Commission?
No. The only time that somebody can make an appeal to the Planning Commission is when there's an interpretation. But the code on this is very clear that the setbacks, if it's within the front setback, then it has to maintain a height of 42 inches. And when working with a property owner, if they did approach me, if their issue was people loitering or leaving things or trash building up in that area, I would let them know that there is a fence that they can put up against the sidewalk, again, no higher than 42 inches, which would appease that smaller problem of just people leaving or loitering in that front setback area. The landscaping can still protrude above that, so it still provides that open environment. As far as securing the property, then we would have those discussions about maybe either a secondary fence, or if that was their primary goal, not the loitering, but just securing the property. Other places on the property where a 6-foot fence would be more appropriate and allowed by code as well.
Thank you.
The question arises then, if somebody is not remodeling or vacating the property, how do they go about getting protective fencing? Just say no?
No, they can follow the current fencing guidelines with the setback.
With a setback, which then
Correct.
doesn't really do a lot of the properties good because it creates a cove or an area where people can actually hide in the bushes.
Well, the fence at Park Avenue, you could just walk right around it. I don't see what it does. I guess it's, for some reason.
They had a
it's
cease
stopped.
and desist on their fencing. It's not finished, Gary.
Well, you always
Has
had to
a
have,
ce-
the-
they
you
had
had
a
to have the
cease and
opening
defense.
for
They had
the
a
mobile
cease-
home park.
Yeah, they shut it down. The city shut them down.
I know, but you had to be able to get into the mobile home park, and right there, I mean, you can jump over the back. I mean, I don't see how that fence really helps them any, but, you know, if it has, that's great, but it doesn't make sense.
They just-
We have pretty dumb
Before they
criminals
put
if they
their-
can't just go
before
around the
they put-
corner.
Before they put their fencing up, people just walked on and destroyed the building from the street.
It was there for 40 years and nobody did that.
Now, we haven't had the problems we have
The
today.
problem is it's not occupied. This has all happened when it's been unoccupied. That's their biggest problem.
Gary,
It's not the
if you lost
fence.
almost $500,000, would you just go back and put it in without any kind of security?
No, I think I would sell the property and let them develop it into something else.
Yeah, okay, call up Park Ave and tell Dave Slash to just not move back.
I don't think he's coming back. It's been 5 years. 5 years.
First of
He
all,
left in 2019,
first of
last
all, he
year.
almost died from COVID. Number two, he couldn't come back because of the damage that was done to his property. And number three, he has no protection there.
Okay, it's a bad location.
Okay, well, then I'll just give him a call and tell him we don't want him. You don't want him.
I've
I
never seen
want him.
location in Stanton.
I would like to have Park Avenue
He's
back.
not coming back, Dave. He's been gone 5
I
years.
bet you $1,000 he comes back if you give him fencing.
If we just remove the setbacks, everything will be better, right?
I don't know, guys, you know. Hey, look, we're about tonight, we approved a additional state of emergency in Stanton because of transiency and loitering. And you're sitting here telling me that we don't need fencing. Wow.
Good solution, Dave.
Can we get a motion? You want to make a motion on this? So we can find out where we are. I'm not even sure where we are anymore.
I would make a motion to just change, see that, well, then before I do make a motion, Hannah, again, if we change the and to or, what happens there?
You're expanding the eligibility, so now businesses who are not geographically located next to a storm channel, railroad track on Beach Boulevard or Catella Avenue, if they have experienced at least two incidents of documented vandalism, then they too can apply for this temporary security fencing. So it expands the eligibility pool to more business properties in Stanton.
But it's still temporary.
It's still temporary.
Okay, how about, what do you think of the changing the or?
It's a great document. I think the only thing that we need to add to it is to give whoever the property owner is the ability to maintain the fencing that secures his property the way in which it's been established.
Okay, so let's, I mean, as a homeowner who lives on the corner, I was having a lot of problems with, when I had deliveries, people stealing. On one side, I went, maximized my property, built a wall, right? And to me, I just love maximizing it. The other side, I couldn't, but to try to deter them from cutting across the grass, I did put bushes, and that deterred it a lot. And they're like 3 to 4 feet, because now they have to go to my front door through the driveway instead of from the corner. So has it deterred a lot of crime for me, for my own household? Yes. So when you talk about that iron at Park Avenue, when you say, oh, they could just go around, they could. Like in my house, they could go around the bushes in the driveway, but for whatever reason, they choose not to, because it's not wide open. It's not an easy, open getaway.
So you only needed a bush?
I
Instead of a wall?
did shrubs. I couldn't afford the wall. I would have loved the wall, but I couldn't afford it.
And you got good results from that?
Well, I got great results, because I live on the corner, it was open, they would just run to the front porch, take it and go. But with the bushes now, I put the string so they're all attached, so they can't use that as a cut through. If, you can come to my house after and I can show you how it's.
But your house is in a business on Beach Boulevard.
Yeah, and I'm still getting, and so we have to talk about, I understand it's temporary, but as far as long-term for our businesses, and that's where the key is. Do we keep it with staff, which is, they did a great job, or do we allow them to have it for permanent? And I think, as a homeowner, and if I was a business owner on Beach, but I would like to put in it, if they, and I don't know if this is possible, Hannah, if they would, because I know Torres, Mayor Pro Tem Torres is worried about greenery, and I see, and I agree with that. If we could require some kind of ivy.
How high are you gonna allow?
I'm a little
She
concerned about,
has it.
I'm a little concerned about ivy because of how it could grow and block sightlines for traffic. So if you want to make, if the council is considering making it permanent and you wanted to mandate landscaping behind, that would require a whole different analysis because let's say you have shorter bushes behind, then you can't have any block component because you would want that greenery to show through. So everything would have to be open. And then currently with a 5-foot setback, there's requirements in the matrix that takes into account, depending on where the fence is located, the necessary sight lines, and it already has provisions. So I think we would have to create new traffic visibility areas. And I don't know if the city would pay for that, or if that would be on an applicant by applicant basis, that they would have to have a traffic study to determine where it can be, what angle it can be, what material, what width each piece of it can be. So if the council is looking at making this permanent up to the property line, I would say you should direct staff to do some additional research because there are some additional components that for public health and safety would need to be considered.
Okay, and then the penalty, only if they don't open?
Correct. If they open within the maximum 18 months and take down the temporary fencing and either leave it down or replace it with permanent fencing that meets the current municipal code requirements, then the penalty would never be imposed.
Okay, and then one more question, because I know we said we would keep it at and. So it has two, it says and have experienced two or more incidents, correct?
I think the rest of the council was supportive of changing it to or, but yes, right now it's saying that we wanted to see the incidents, but I think the council was supportive of changing it to or.
Motion to move it the way it's written. I think I see everybody's concerns. You know, as a business owner, you know, I have my own beliefs, you know, but at the same time, we have to think what's best for the city. And I'm going to make a motion just to do it the way that staff has written it.
With or.
With or, thank you.
That's
Yes.
all?
Okay.
All this for that?
I'd like to make a substitute.
Oh. I should have seconded it, but okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, second.
Second.
Councilmember Warren seconded it at first.
Oh, I didn't see
So
it.
substitute,
If the maker of
substitute.
the motion will agree, the only thing I think that would probably be something that might work for all of us is to, once the fence is up and in place, let's give the occupant of that, I agree with you, give him an hour, 1 year with an extension of possibly 6 to complete the project. But also, if the project is in place and they have the fencing up or put the fencing up, give them 1.5 years to have that fencing up. Because in 1.5 years from now, we'll have a very good idea of what the safety landscape of this city is going to be like.
And so the total amount of that time would be 3 years?
1 year and 6 months period,
Like it is.
but not from the completion date, just from the date that the fencing goes up. In other words, you don't have to start that clock when somebody finishes construction, because some people may already have it up and ask for it to become legal. That's all I'm saying. In other words, we're not restricting, we're not saying that after 1.5 years, a year and a half after they open, it has to come down. Give them the ability to have it up for a year and a half, then we can evaluate it.
Is that your motion? Do
That's all, yeah. Otherwise, I'm happy with it the way it's written.
you have a second? John?
I'm trying to.
I'm not sure if I quite understand the substitute motion. So currently, the original as written, if, as staff proposed, once the ordinance is adopted and approved and with the proper passing of time, it will become effective on that date for any businesses that currently have a fence up, and any businesses who come to apply for a temporary fence, the clock would start ticking once theirs is up. So is the substitute motion to allow for that during the construction period, and then once they are officially open for business, grant them an additional year and a half to leave? Okay, can you please restate the substitute motion?
Give them a year and a half of having the fence up. That means that if somebody has a fence up and they're open, they'll have a year and a half to leave that fence up before we require them to take it down.
Okay, so
Make it when they open rather than when they construct. That's
I-
kind of what you were saying, isn't it?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, as it is right now, so if the ordinance is approved, we bring everything forward, the temporary fencing gets adopted. When that becomes effective, anybody who applies, even if there's an existing one or there isn't an existing one, when they apply and they get approved, they have a year and a half from the date of approval, not from the date of initial installation. Or it would be, that's how it would be applied to anybody that has an existing fence currently.
So if I was to do my construction, got it up, then I just wanted to give them a year and a half to have their fence up, that's all.
So let's
The
say-
intent is overall just 1 year and a half from they submit the application, they get approved, they're issued a building permit, they have 1 year and a half from the date the building permit is issued before they are required to remove it.
So the sooner they get it up, the longer they have to have their fence up, is that correct?
When their building permit is issued, they'll have a year and a half from that date.
If they have it up and their business is open, whatever period of time after they do their original is a year and a half.
So
Well, a year with
let's use an
extension.
example. Somebody comes in today, pulls a permit, the permit is approved, the clock starts ticking, they're very fast about doing their improvements. In 3 months, they're open. They could have then another 15 months to have the fence up is what I believe the mayor is requesting.
Okay, that's all I asked.
And I would, because so if I opened August 26th, then I would have a year and a half from August 26th.
So that's under the substitute motion. So it would
Sure
be
is.
from the date the permit is pulled. So in staff's proposal, it envisioned whenever they open, they had to close it. This one gives them the full benefit of the 18 months.
See, I don't have a problem with that because I'm thinking construction-wise. So for example, if I were to pull my permit today, August 26th, and I have 6 months for construction, we know construction goes longer than 6 months. So I would think, as someone, I don't have a problem with that. You know, from the time they open, a year, you know what?
It's not from the time they open, it's from the time the permit is approved. So
Mayor Shawver's,
his is from when the permit is approved. It has nothing to do with the opening of the business. So the
Okay, so-
faster you can get your construction done, the longer you can have the benefit of the temporary fence while you're open,
Okay.
I believe is.
It gives us a chance to study of how effective it is, you know, and because we'll know a lot better the deposition of this city in a year and a half from now.
So it sounds like regardless, the maximum time any property could have a temporary fence up is 18 months.
Can I get a clarifier on the difference between the original motion and the substitute motion?
The original motion took staff's proposal with the change of the and to the or, and the way staff originally envisioned it, the temporary fence could only be up as long as your construction period. So if you were very efficient and construction was done in 3 months, then that temporary fence had to come down. Under the substitute motion from the mayor, if you're efficient, you're rewarded, and now you get to utilize the temporary fence for another 15 months to maybe establish kind of a baseline for the property before you have to pull it down. So that's the difference.
And it gives you a chance to find out whether the security measures made any difference or not.
And it's still temporary.
And it also determines what the state of the city will be, whether, we may be revisiting this in the future if it doesn't work.
I mean, I'm good with that. It's because it's, again, it's temporary.
So it's probably easier if you just amend your motion.
So that-
If you just amend your motion to that.
I'll amend the motion and add, change into what Mayor Shawver said. And I think, again, it's temporary and it's going to be, it's not going to be there forever. So I make that motion with those changes, please.
Is there a second to the amended motion?
I'll second.
So we have a motion by, Councilmember Barrios, a second by Mayor Shawver. I'll now proceed with the roll call vote. Councilmember Warren?
Aye.
Oh, my apologies. I thought that was like a aye. Excuse me. Councilmember Barrios?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
I'll abstain.
Mayor Pro Tem Torres?
Abstain.
And Mayor Shawver?
Yes.
That is 3 ayes, which passes with 3-2.
Okay, moving on. This is time for oral communication. At this time, anyone in the audience may address the city council on issues that are not on our agenda. Any comments at all with anything within our jurisdiction? If we ask for anybody to speak,
Mr. Mayor, we have none.
have we received any correspondence?
We have no written communications.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Written communications, we have none. Mayor, council, agency, authority initiated business. Committee reports, authority announcements. John?
16, I attended the Lac Viet Multi-Unit Vietnamese Scouting Organization Court of Honor for their Eagle Scouts and for the girls that were achieving the Gold Award, of which there was 4 new Eagles and two new Golds, and it was a pretty great ceremony to watch, and happy to see what our future leaders will look like out there. But wanted to just express that I'm proud of them.
Anything else?
I did, John and I, we did attend the Howley Grand Opening Church on Dale. It was awesome. We did get the VI treatment there. And, they had their services, great food, and they were very appreciative of the city council attending. And, it was different, but it was a Vietnamese church, but they did have bilingual English also, so it was made me feel comfortable because I was like, oh man, I didn't think I was going to understand, but they were very, very, very welcoming and appreciative of the city attending.
Okay, anything for a future council meeting?
Yeah. I'd like to agendize an item regarding public safety for temporary professional unarmed security services. I think the biggest issue is public safety right now.
Councilmember, if this is an item for a future agenda, then simply just adding it and suggesting it, you don't have to justify it. It'll be a full discussion at the next meeting.
Thanks. Sorry about
Okay, any items for a future study session? Okay. Initiated item by the City Council. This is Councilmember Torres regarding renters' rights. You're up, Dawn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to request from the council if we could table this item towards our next meeting, September 9th, if I'm corrected. I would appreciate that from council.
Okay, we're all okay with that? Yes. Okay, good. Items from the city council?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no items.
Manager?
Nothing this evening.
Orange County Sheriff, please. You're up, Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Stanton Police Services July Collaborative Outreach and Enforcement Update. During the month of July, Stanton Police Services partnered with multiple Orange County Sheriff's Department units and regional partners to support enhanced outreach, engagement, and enforcement efforts throughout the city. This collaboration was aimed at improving community safety and connecting residents with needed resources. Highlights from these efforts include over 2,000 patrol checks conducted throughout the city of Stanton, contact with more than 700 individuals for resource referrals, trespass notifications, and/or enforcement, issuance of over 200 citations, and more than 100 custodial arrests were made. In addition to the contracted police services personnel, OCSD resources such as the Behavioral Health Bureau, North Direct Enforcement Team, Orange County Transit Authority, and teams from other contracted cities contributed significantly. These additional resources filled 275 shifts, totaling approximately 1,837 hours additional during the month of July. Importantly, these hours were provided without direct charge to the city, representing an estimated $128,000 in straight-time value. If overtime had been used to cover these hours, the cost would have exceeded over $208,000, which would amount to over 25% of the city's contracted overtime budget. These coordinated efforts with OCSD's ongoing commitment to proactive community engagement in enhancing public safety within the city of Stanton. So staffing comparison. Obviously, since our last report, we were at 21 deputies. We're at 23, and now we are at 29. Stanton Motors, we went from 1 to 2. Additional resources used in the month of July, 275. So our Stanton Patrol has increased 23%, motors have increased 100% in staffing, and again, it's important to know that the resources that we brought in additionally this month was a 957% increase of additional resources. Enforcement comparison. Since my last report, misdemeanor citations, 184, and in July it was 181. That's a 1.6% decrease. Misdemeanor bookings, since my last report, 61, and in July was 53, with a 13% decrease. Felony bookings, since my last report, 32, in the month of July, 48, a 50% increase. Warrant bookings, since my last report, 19, in July, 35, with an 84% increase. DUI bookings, 8 since my last report, 10 in the month of July, a 25% increase. Traffic citations, since my last report, 63, and in the month of July, 414 for a 557% increase. Stanton Police Services specifics. In July of 2025, deputies responded to 1,170 calls for service, which is an average of 38 a day. Stanton Patrol deputies initiated or observed an additional 1,738 calls for service, which is an additional 56 calls per day for a combined approximate 94 calls of service per day. Enforcement in the month of July, we had 1 criminal homicide, we had 3 robberies, 6 violent assaults, 5 burglaries, 24 thefts, and 119 trespass-related violations. 9 stolen vehicles also. That includes stolen and recovered. Response times for the month of July. Priority 1, since my last report, they were 4 minutes and 57 seconds, and in the month of July, they are down to 4 minutes and 9 seconds with a 17% decrease. Priority twos, since my last report, 18 minutes and 56 seconds. In July, 12 minutes and 52 seconds with a 37% decrease. And priority threes, since my last report, 31 minutes and 11 seconds, down to 29 minutes and 55 seconds, which is 6.5% decrease, Investigations in the month of July. Stanton investigators were busy again in the month of July. There were 44 new cases, 24 cases were closed, 8 cases were filed with the district attorney's offices, and 3 resulted in arrests. A special enforcement team during the month had 42 probation parolee contacts, 19 prostitution contacts, 20 felony arrests, 35 misdemeanor arrests, 6 stolen vehicles were recovered, and 10 investigative referrals were made. Our set deputies conducted numerous patrol checks in the following areas, in areas related to crime suppression, which included Court and Garden Grove, Catella and Mercantile, Beach and Main, First and Second, Star and Orangewood. Deputies assisted with the continuance of prostitution suppression throughout the city during the month. They also located an armed robbery suspect, resulting in a positive identification and arrest of the suspect. OCSD investigative assistance. Our set deputies also assisted North Narcotics in locating a suspect vehicle related to a search warrant. And they also, an outside agency assistance. On July 5th, the city did experience a homicide. In the initial response with the deputies, with the assistance of our RTOC, the Real-Time Operations Center, were able to access cameras and assisted in identifying the suspect vehicle of initial interest. This concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Gary?
Thank you for all that great work, and we really do appreciate all the resources you brought in to, I don't know what the right term is, but you did quite a job making the city better, quality of life issues. Since we don't have all those resources now, has anything changed as far as enforcement on what you did?
Our enforcement posture has not changed. So now that we don't have those additional resources in the city, the deputies that do work the city are still moving forward with enforcement and engagement. Yes.
Basically the same way you were doing it, only just with the normal
With
amount of
additional-
resources we have.
Yes.
Some of the statistics you mentioned, the metrics, when we first were talking about the contract, you guys brought out a lot of really great metrics. Currently, I heard you give the metrics for the month of July, right? They seem like they're getting better. Do we actually count those as, I guess, productivity? Would that make sense? Does that make us more productive with more people?
I think it's more productive with the additional deputies that we have, yes. That is a reflection of that.
And are there any other statistics that we use, but besides just, I guess, time for the different calls 1 through 4? Is there any other metrics we're using?
I have those, and then again, the calls for service as it related from my last report to this current report, those are the only things that I have with me currently.
Thank you.
I do want to share that Captain Pierce and I have been talking, and they are working on a type of dashboard report that will be formalizing, and then that would be sent out to the council on a regular basis. So we're working to try and identify what those metrics are that would be maybe most helpful for the council to see, so we are working on that.
Say anything? Okay.